What if I told you that the investment that your banker sold to you is actually eroding your wealth rather than growing it? It's happened to me. It might be happening to you too. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Vivian Robert. I've lived in India and 3 other countries abroad, and I've dealt with the intricacies of the financial and banking systems in all these countries. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about a personal experience and a topic that I feel very strongly about how we end up relying too much on our bankers for financial advice, and that is probably not the best idea. Now, don't get me wrong. I have nothing against bankers. Bankers are important to provide us with banking needs. But what I do not recommend is to rely on bankers for advice on our financial future. Remember the unit-linked insurance product scams? They're all over the news, and I've fallen prey to it. You may have too. I still remember about 12 or 13 years ago when a banker made a shiny pitch to me about unit-linked insurance products with its promise of guaranteed returns and how my future will be secure for the long term. It sounded like the perfect plan. Why not? Especially because of the security it provided from the insurance aspect as well as the growth it promised from being invested into the markets. But here's the kicker. What they did not tell me was there were sky-high costs. As much as 30% went into admin and other costs, and only 70% of my actual money was being invested into the plan that I was promised. Also, the fact that you will be locked into it for long periods of time with almost no liquidity. In fact, even after 12 years of being part of the plan and 10 years of paying the premiums, my surrender value is not even equivalent to the premiums I've paid over the last 10 years. So this video is about raising awareness so that you, as a Global Desi, can make informed choices about planning your own financial future. Remember, don't trust anyone blindly, not even me. The point is to be informed and make decisions that are in your best interest. So let's get into it. I've identified at least 5 different points that you need to consider before dealing with bankers from the Indian subcontinent. Point number 1, bankers push certain products. There's no getting away from it. In fact, banking and bankers are part of the corporate system, and they have personal development goals that they need to achieve in order to progress further in their career. There are certain products which offer them higher incentives and more attractive commissions compared to the others. For instance, in India, bankers often push unit-linked insurance plans as the best product for your financial future. The reason being that they might be paid very high incentives on some of these products. In fact, it happened just last month when I was in India and visiting the bank for my own personal banking needs. The banker was adamant that I need to invest in another one of their unit-linked insurance plans to secure my long-term future. Despite telling them that I'm already over-insured, they were quite adamant and wouldn't back down on selling their unit-linked insurance plan. Well, I didn't buy it, but still, the fact remains that they try and push as much as possible for us to buy products which give them very high bonuses and incentives. Now, let's compare this to the West. Now, I live in the UK at the moment, and in the UK, financial advisors are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, which means when recommending a certain product, the financial advisor should be absolutely transparent in terms of the risks associated, in terms of the long-term performance, as well as the charges and commissions that are associated with the product before they actually sell anything to you. Point number 2, your friendly neighborhood banker is not a FEMA or a DTAA specialist. Now let me explain. FEMA is the Foreign Exchange Management Act, and DTAA is a double taxation avoidance agreement which India has with a number of countries. Now, navigating the tax regulations of various countries is a hard task in itself, and don't expect your banker to provide you with insights into the nuances of FEMA or DTAA. Now, with all their best intentions, they might be selling you a product which is completely tax-free on maturity in India, but it may not be the same case in the country of your residence. Now, compare this to the Western world. Tax advisors in the Western world are specialists. Now, they are bound by strict regulations by the IRS in the US or the HMRC in the UK. The gap in knowledge between the tax advisors in the West and your friendly neighborhood banker could prove to be the difference between a healthy return and or a tax nightmare. Now, be careful before taking everything at face value. Point number 3, bankers have limited accountability. Now, this is a hard pill to swallow. I used to believe that the advice I got from my banker came with some accountability, but most Indian bankers are not registered with the SEBI, which is the Security and Exchanges Board of India, which means they are not bound by the same fiduciary duties as a registered financial advisor in the West. They are not answerable to you in the same way that a financial planner in the UK or the US would be. In contrast, many independent financial advisors in the Western countries are subject to tight regulation, and there are legal avenues to hold them accountable if they missell your product. Point number 4, bankers come and go. Yes, they are transient. In my own personal experience with one of the largest banks in India, I've had a relationship manager change almost on an average of every 18 months, which means you do not have a long-term relationship with the banker. One day, you're working with somebody who knows your financial situation, and the next year, you're working with somebody who's completely different. Now, wealth creation is a long-term journey. It's not a short-term relationship. This constant shuffle of relationship managers and bankers can honestly be quite exhausting. Continuity is vital for long-term financial perspectives, and this is something that I found lacking in my banking experiences in India. Finally, point number 5, bankers lack a long-term perspective. Now, this is related to my previous point about how bankers come and go. Since the relationships are so transient, Indian bankers often focus on short-term targets rather than long-term relationships, because you never know, in the next 18 months, they might be gone. Now, compare this to the Western world, where independent financial advisors constantly review your goals, your aspirations, your portfolios, and make the changes desired for the long haul. What we need isn't just a product. What we need is a relationship. We need someone who can look after our entire financial situation, including cross-border complexities, tax implications, and long-term goals. The reality is, many Indian bankers aren't equipped for this. So, my fellow Global Desis, with all the best interests in the world, be very cautious about dealing with bankers from the Indian subcontinent. Do your own research. Now, if that is not your cup of tea, make sure you engage the services of an independent financial advisor who can provide you advice based on your own unique situation. Remember, what's best for the banker's financial targets may not be best for your long-term financial health.